On October 4th, 2006, at around 6:15 a.m., the Barrie Police Department received a phone call that immediately chilled the dispatcher. A woman's voice, quiet, controlled, almost emotionless, said, "My children are dead." The words were horrifying on their own, but what made it worse was how calm she sounded, like she was reporting something ordinary instead of something unimaginable. When the dispatcher pressed her for details, the woman answered with the same unsettling calm. "I don't know. I don't remember." Officers were sent to the address immediately, already bracing themselves for what they might be walking into. When they knocked, the door opened, and 31-year-old Frances Elaine Campion stood there, composed and flat-eyed, as if she hadn't just made the most disturbing call of her life. The officers asked about the children she'd mentioned. Elaine didn't hesitate. In the same quiet voice, she confirmed it. "Yes, they're dead. They're on my bed." The officers moved into the apartment and entered the master bedroom, and that's where they found them. Two little girls, 3-year-old Serena and 19-month-old Sophia, lying on the bed. They were dressed in clean clothing, and they'd been carefully adorned with necklaces and earrings, as if someone had tried to arrange them peacefully after the fact. But the scene wasn't peaceful. Their skin was beginning to turn blue, suggesting they'd been gone for some time. One officer noticed a small bruise on Sophia's forehead, but beyond that, there was nothing obvious. No chaos, no struggle, nothing in the room that immediately explained how this could have happened. The apartment itself didn't offer answers either, until investigators began searching deeper and discovered a camcorder. What they found on that camera changed everything. The first recording was shockingly normal, almost comforting. It showed Elaine on August 8th, surprising Serena with a new bike for her 3rd birthday. The kind of moment that looks like it belongs in a family scrapbook.
Hi Serena, it's August 8th, 2006. Happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you, happy birthday Serena, happy birthday to you. Serena's 3 today, yay! Shall we go to the living room and see if you got any birthday presents from the birthday fairies?
Yes!
Okay, let's go.
I have to go.
What is it?
It's a bike.
The next clip was just as ordinary. Elaine with her daughters, hanging out, laughing, passing time like any other family might.
Love you.
This much.
Oh, I love you more than that.
Up to that point, nothing about the footage hinted at what police had just walked into. But the third recording, dated October 2nd, was where the shift happened. The tone flipped instantly, like a switch being pulled. Elaine began speaking at length about how unbearable her living conditions were, and she spiraled into accusations about her ex-husband Leo and his family, describing torment and cruelty, saying it all in front of her children as if the camera had become her only witness.
You can't see through the camera, boo-boo. Oh, yes, this is a deplorable, horrible, messy, filthy apartment that supposedly my 2 children and I live in, and it's just a horrible, horrible mess. Yeah. I think Diego Campione is totally in the wrong, and I hope he burns in hell for all his sins. The same as Leonardo. All I wanted to do was take care of my 2 little girls and live happily ever after the 3 years of physical, emotional, and mental abuse that I endured tremendously by Leonardo Campione, and in the past year from Anna and Diego Campione, the mental and emotional abuse, which wouldn't stop, and I had CAS keep bringing these 2 people into my life over and over again when I kept telling them the amount of mental and emotional abuse it was causing my 3-year-old daughter Serena and I and Sophia. It was horrible and uncalled for, and I want justice to my family for what they have all done to us. I cried out for help. They should have.
Behind that rant was a history that wasn't simple. Leo was described as deeply abusive, physically and psychologically. Elaine had been isolated, kept from contacting her parents, and at one point, she was kicked in the stomach while pregnant. That incident led to Leo being charged with domestic violence, and eventually, the marriage ended in divorce. But even after that, the conflict didn't end. Around the time of the recording, Leo was attempting to rebuild his life, and he was also fighting Elaine for custody of their daughters. That legal battle hit Elaine like a slow collapse. She had already struggled with instability and had been admitted to a psychiatric ward twice in the years before. According to her mother, the custody fight pushed her over the edge completely, feeding into paranoia so severe that she became convinced Leo would show up one day and forcibly take her daughters away. In her mind, it wasn't just a fear, it became an approaching certainty. And then, October 2nd reached its final hours. After ending the recording at 8:39 p.m., Elaine did the unthinkable. She took the lives of her daughters. Then, using the same camcorder, she recorded a confession, something investigators later described as haunting, found on that same device.
Recording this because Leo and there, are you happy? Everything is gone. You wouldn't give peace. You wouldn't tell the truth. I begged. You even had Stacy not believing me, telling her I had to sign papers when I didn't. I went to victim witness to get the truth. Trying, begging everyone the truth. How you beat me for 3 years behind closed doors. Beat me when I was pregnant with Reno and Sophia. You didn't care about our babies. You didn't care about me. You cared about yourself. You wanted to win. You won. Are you happy? How does it make you feel? How does it make you feel? Because it doesn't make me feel great. I've lost everything my whole life.
After that, the camera cuts again to a later moment, showing Elaine attempting to take her own life.
I tried to overdose.
So, that means the remodeling time at their Aurelia and Braintree stores. They are changing the displays. Now is the time to make a great deal on an Ontario-made hydro-cooled hot tub. In stock models, floor models, or custom orders, everything has a sale price. Pool Spa Sauna Showroom, making waves in Aurelia, Bracebridge, and soon to be in Huntsville. You can also check them out on the web at poolspasaunashowroom.com.
Elaine was arrested at the scene. The footage recovered in her apartment became central evidence in the case, documenting the emotional decline, the shift in tone, and the aftermath in a way that could never be explained away. She was ultimately convicted and sentenced to life in prison, with the possibility of parole after 25 years. It's heartbreaking to realize that danger can sometimes come from the very people you love. And that's exactly what makes this next case so disturbing. Quick interruption. If you're enjoying this video, why not hit that subscribe button? We're on a mission to hit 500,000 subscribers, and when we do, 3 lucky fans will win a limited edition CreepyVids hoodie or shirt. Right now, 61.4% of you watching haven't subscribed yet. It's completely free, and your support helps us make even more awesome videos. So, don't miss out. Subscribe now, and let's get back to the video. On January 8, 2005, a man named Martin opened his mailbox and found something unexpected inside. A small package with no return address and no explanation. Curious, he brought it into his home and opened it. Inside was a single videotape. No label, no note, nothing to explain why it had been sent. Wanting answers, Martin placed the tape into his camcorder and pressed play. What appeared on the screen was deeply disturbing. It was nearly an hour of footage showing a man calmly describing violent acts he intended to carry out, how he planned to lure someone in, what tools he had prepared, and what he was about to do next.
I'm not trained in torture methods, which is what I'm gonna have to make do. I got my drill here. The reason why it's got this padding on it is just to try to silence it a bit because I'm in an apartment. I got gags, socks, I got lots of duct tape. I got a soldering iron. Sheets. It's rather crude implement. I think can work wonders, especially if it's used in the right way.
But what truly unsettled Martin wasn't just the content of the tape, it was the face on it. The man delivering this chilling message wasn't a stranger. It was his close friend, Ricky Rodriguez. This wasn't a manifesto from a random criminal. It was a final message from someone who had lived through decades of trauma inside a cult and who had decided he was going to take revenge on the people responsible. Ricky had recorded the video and mailed copies to a small group of friends and family so they would understand what he was about to do and why.
Well, for many reasons, I guess. I suppose the main reason is that I want there to be some record of the way I feel, my ideas, just who I was, really.
Ricky's story began on January 25th, 1975. He was born as the first child of Karen Elva Zerby, a devoted member of a controversial religious group known as the Children of God. The group used Christian language and imagery to attract young, often vulnerable people, many of them teenagers, and gradually indoctrinated them into increasingly extreme beliefs. 2 years after Ricky was born, he was adopted by the group's founder, David Berg, who portrayed himself as a chosen spiritual leader. Berg later rebranded the organization as The Family and elevated Ricky into a symbolic role within the group, presenting him publicly as a kind of spiritual figurehead. Outwardly, Ricky appeared to hold a special place within the community, but privately, his childhood was defined by severe abuse and manipulation. Berg not only condoned harmful behavior within the group, he documented much of it in disturbing internal publications, including a text titled The Story of DeVito, which referenced Ricky directly. As Ricky grew older, he slowly began to see through the ideology and manipulation surrounding him. In 1999, after 24 years inside the group, he managed to escape with his girlfriend, Alexia Manuel. They arranged what appeared to be a visit to a compound in Mexico, but instead fled to the United States. Re-entering normal society after spending his entire life inside an isolated cult was an enormous challenge. But Ricky managed to build something resembling stability. He found work as an electrician, married Alexia, and later relocated to Tucson, Arizona. Yet the past never fully released him. David Berg had died in 1994, and leadership of the group had passed to Karen Zerby, Ricky's own mother. Though the organization had faced public scrutiny, it continued operating largely overseas. Ricky believed that children were still suffering inside the same system he had endured. By January 2005, the weight of it all had reached a breaking point. Ricky decided he would confront it himself. That decision led to the tape Martin received. In the recording, Ricky explained that his goal was to dismantle the cult. He spoke of accountability, he spoke of justice, and beneath it all, he spoke of revenge.
There's this need that I have. This need, it's not a want, it's a need, and I wish it wasn't, but it is. It's a need for revenge. It's a need for justice. Because I can't go on like this.
He had contacted a former nanny, Angela Smith, someone he believed had participated in or enabled the abuse during his childhood. He invited her to dinner at his apartment in Tucson. His intention was to confront her and force her to reveal information about other members of the organization. On January 8th, after mailing copies of his tape, he carried out that plan. Angela Smith was invited into his home. What happened during that confrontation remains partially unclear, but it ended with her death. Afterward, Ricky drove to Blythe, California. He rented a motel room and called his wife. During the call, he told her what he had done and what he believed he needed to do next. But something had shifted. Despite years of anger and pain, Ricky confessed that taking a life had not brought him peace. In his final video, he had imagined revenge would feel liberating, that it would somehow close the wounds of his childhood. Instead, he told his wife it was the hardest thing he had ever done. On the morning of January 9th, authorities found his car parked a few miles from the motel. Ricky Rodriguez was inside. He had taken his own life. For those who loved him, the outcome was devastating, but not entirely shocking. His struggle with trauma had always run deep. The video he mailed became both a confession and a final explanation. As for the organization he fled from, it continues to exist in various forms to this day, operating under the leadership of Karen Zerby. Ricky believed that confronting the past would free him. Instead, it became the final chapter of a life shaped by isolation, manipulation, and a desperate search for justice that ultimately cost him everything. Think that was disturbing? What comes next is even more unbelievable. Watch. In 2020, a post appeared on the subreddit r/found footage asking a simple but unsettling question. Were there any found footage videos online that might actually be real? The thread barely gained attention at first, but nearly 2 years later, a user known as That Horsehead Guy revived it with a cryptic reply, asking whether anyone had come across strange physical VHS tapes. When pressed, he responded, "Oh yeah, I've got something for you," and posted a YouTube link. Someone replied almost immediately, saying they regretted clicking it. The link led to a small YouTube channel titled David Fun with Dolls, featuring only a handful of uploads and very few subscribers. One of the early videos, dated back to 2019, introduced a man named David and a doll named Sally. The channel banner read, "A special kind of blackjack." At first glance, it didn't resemble polished analog horror or a viral marketing stunt. It felt isolated and deeply personal. In one of the longer uploads, David is seen sitting in a dimly lit room surrounded by dolls positioned around him. Buckets filled with a thick, mud-like substance are scattered across the floor. He calmly explains the rules of a game he calls a variation of blackjack, speaking directly to the dolls as if they represent real individuals. At one point, he opens a drawer and pulls out a handheld electronic device labeled Blackjack 21. From there, he begins playing. During this segment, he exceeds 21 and follows through with the consequence he previously described, using the contents of the buckets on himself.
February 13, 2001, and my dolls have got a Valentine's present for me. Every time I lose, I get my bad. This one, where is it? A hit? A hit? See, I went over 21. I would get on my back. Come on. By golly, you're going to get it right down your... You put 3 belts around your shirt now. I don't want to run out of your shirt.
The footage is disturbing and often heavily censored when reshared due to its graphic nature. Returning to the Reddit thread provides additional context. According to That Horsehead Guy, the footage originally came from a VHS tape given to a friend by a random hitchhiker. The tape allegedly contained multiple recordings. One segment, titled Golden Afternoon, was described as an experimental short film shot on actual film stock, featuring stylized overlays and disturbing themes. Another label on the tape simply read, "To David." The commenter claimed that much of the original footage had been intentionally destroyed over the years by those who had watched it. In the missing portions, David reportedly went into greater detail about the dolls, explaining who each one represented, why they were arranged the way they were, and how much preparation had gone into the game. According to the Reddit account, what remains online is only a fragment of the original material. Whether any of this origin story is true remains unclear. There is no verification of the VHS narrative, no confirmed link between the Reddit user and the channel, and no solid evidence pointing to performance art or genuine psychological distress. What makes the entire situation so unsettling is the ambiguity. There's no obvious attempt at virality, no cinematic framing, and no clear message. It simply exists. And sometimes, the most disturbing content online isn't what's meant to scare you, but what feels like it was never meant to be seen at all. And that same goes for this next disturbing footage. In 2010, a new YouTube channel appeared online. The first upload was harmless enough, a simple video of the creator showing off a homemade Halloween costume. The channel was called Bougie731, and at first, it seemed like it would just be a place where he shared hobbies and personal interests like so many others on the platform. But then the upload stopped. For nearly a year, the channel went completely silent. When it returned, the tone had changed entirely. The next video was titled, My Stalker. It opened in a parking lot at an undisclosed location. Before any footage began, a block of text appeared on screen explaining that the creator was in the middle of an ongoing confrontation with someone who had been following him for some time. What followed was tense and uncomfortable to watch.
You followed my car a lot. How does that not make me uncomfortable?
I thought we were good friends. I thought we were like, okay, if we're not friends, at least we were talking before, and you didn't think that I just don't know.
I tried to put aside my feelings. I tried to be a good guy. I tried to talk to you. And the conversations we had, I felt like they went nowhere. They weren't things I wanted to talk about, and so I'm done talking.
Because you never reciprocate.
There's nothing interesting that you had to talk about.
Well, reciprocate and ask me questions. And
I'm not interested. I was never interested.
Why?
Because I don't like you.
Why can't you expand your cultural diversity and just, like...
Cultural diversity?
Why don't you expand your friendships? Not just more than, have you know any Filipino?
Yes, I went to school with one, yes.
Okay.
I know a Filipino, I know a gay guy.
Okay.
My cultural diversity is pretty expansive.
Okay, so with that in mind, why don't you give me a chance? I can.
Because I'm not giving you a chance because you're Filipino.
No. Why don't you give me a chance? Not being a...
You being a Filipino doesn't have anything to do with it. You being gay doesn't have anything to do with it. I don't care. I just don't like your presence. You make me uncomfortable. A Filipino friend doesn't make me uncomfortable. My gay friend doesn't make me uncomfortable.
Well, tell me, what makes them not make you uncomfortable?
The fact that we started having conversations and that we liked each other and that we were friends. We started having conversations, you and I didn't really get the vibe. I didn't really feel like we could be friends.
Why?
Because I don't like you because you made me uncomfortable from day one.
Why did you just... Well, did you just want me not to talk before?
I was fine with you not talking before, yes.
Well, how could you develop friendships like that? See,
for people who doesn't make me uncomfortable right off the bat.
The thing is, I want to develop friendships with people that I don't know, and I've met you, and I think that we can be acquaintances. I can say hello once in a while.
Yes, but following me to my car is not saying hello once in a while. Following me from train to train as I get off to try and avoid you is not saying hello once in a while.
Well, I can't help it.
It's creepy.
What makes you... I don't want you to feel that way.
Look, if the situation was I was a girl and you were a guy following around, there would be police all over this place. You would be in jail. Do you think that's true?
I know.
Okay, so the situation is you're following me, whether I'm a girl or a guy. You're following me from train car to my car. It's the same thing.
But I can't help myself not following you. For some reason, I can't. Adam, I can't. I don't...
How about you try? You try real hard.
How?
Not follow me. Just walk to your car. Don't walk to my car. Don't try and have a conversation with me from all the way from the train to my car with me not saying a damn word. Maybe get the hint that I don't want to talk to you.
I won't bother you anymore talking to you. But I will say hi to you once in a while. Okay.
All right.
From that first recording, it became clear that this wasn't a one-time encounter. Bo explained that this individual had been following him repeatedly, on trains, through parking lots, lingering nearby in places where he shouldn't have been. He even expressed frustration that the police might not take it seriously because he was a man, and at one point, he directly pleaded with the stalker to just stop. The stalker verbally agreed, but the tone of the interaction made one thing obvious. Baug didn't believe him. Shortly after, another video was uploaded. This one appeared more deliberate, almost like evidence collection, documentation in case something escalated further. In it, viewers could see firsthand the unsettling dynamic Baug had been dealing with.
I have moved train cars. And what do we see? Again, followed me to a different train car.
By this point, it was clear to him that the stalking hadn't stopped. He began noticing patterns, specifically that whenever he prepared to switch train cars, the man would position himself near the exit door, anticipating his movements. So Boog came up with a plan. Instead of moving early, he would remain seated until the very last second before the train doors opened, then sprint out and switch cars abruptly, hoping to finally shake him. The footage of that attempt is tense and chaotic.
Take off for Milwaukee. Thank you for riding Star.
How about you stay on the train track?
I'm going to stay on the train.
And they're good. Get on. Stay on. Gerard, stay on the fucking train. Stop following me. Sit down and stop following me. Sit down and stop following me.
We're going.
Sit down.
We're going.
Sit down. Can you get him to stop following me, please?
Okay, somebody needs to get off the train and somebody to stay on. Guys, why are you following him?
I don't know.
Okay, you want to wait for the next train? You hold the train up. Step off for a second, sir.
I'll go.
Boy, come up here.
Thank you. Thank you. And here he is. Still following.
After that, Baug seemed to reach a breaking point. There wasn't much left to try on his own. He had documented the encounters, changed routines, confronted the man directly, and nothing worked. So he did what he likely should have done from the start. he went to the police. In a later update, Baug wrote, "Thank you all for the concern. These videos were recorded in 2011, and since then, this guy has disappeared. After bringing the police in the matter, I think he got the hint, and I was left alone. There were numerous other events that weirded me out, which aren't detailed in these videos, but I was lucky and unscathed in all my interactions." After that statement, the channel fell silent once again. No new uploads, no follow-ups, just digital stillness. But at least this time, the silence felt different. Not ominous, just finished. Ball seemingly moved on with his life, unharmed. And while his channel now sits dormant, the footage remains as a stark reminder of how persistent and terrifying stalking can be, and how quickly everyday routines can turn into something deeply unsettling. You will see the same happening in this next footage. On June 1st, 2024, a YouTube channel called Found Memories uploaded a video titled Tape 92 Found Footage, Jason Sleeping. According to the on-screen timestamp, the recording took place at 9:27 p.m. on April 22, 2007. The video begins with someone positioning a camcorder so that it faces a young child asleep in bed. And then, almost nothing happens. For nearly 30 minutes, the camera remains fixed on the sleeping child. He shifts a few times in his sleep, rolling slightly, adjusting under the covers. But that's it. No strange movements, no unexplained sounds, no visible disturbances in the background. Just silence, steady breathing, and an unmoving frame. Yet despite how uneventful the footage is, something about it feels deeply unsettling. Maybe it's the complete lack of context, maybe it's the uncomfortable stillness, or maybe it's simply the idea of someone recording half an hour of a child sleeping with no explanation attached. With enough imagination, the emptiness alone can start to feel like a threat. According to the video's description, the original tape was labeled only Jason Sleeping. The uploader explains that it was discovered in a box filled with abandoned camcorder tapes, and that their goal is simply to archive found footage in case the original owners ever come across it online. That explanation adds some context, but it doesn't answer the biggest question. Why would anyone record 30 minutes of a sleeping child in the first place? Digging deeper, the first assumption might be that this is some kind of staged analog horror project. The aesthetic fits: grainy footage, fixed angle, lingering discomfort. But when looking through the Found Memories channel, that theory starts to fall apart. The channel was created in April 2024, and its About section explains that the owner has collected thousands of tapes and various forms of physical media from pawn shops, thrift stores, private sellers, and auctions. The idea behind the channel is to archive these forgotten recordings so that one day someone connected to them might rediscover a lost piece of their life. At the time of writing, the channel has uploaded over 180 different videos. Most of them are completely ordinary. Home movies of children opening Christmas presents in the early 1990s, wedding ceremonies, family gatherings, birthday parties. Almost none of them have a horror angle at all, and that's important. It seems highly unlikely that someone would go through the effort of collecting and uploading hundreds of mundane home videos just to slip in one cryptic horror project. Everything about the channel's catalog suggests authenticity, which makes Jason Sleeping feel less like a staged scare and more like something genuinely pulled from a forgotten box. So if it's not a horror short, what is it? The simplest explanation might also be the most realistic. The footage was likely recorded by a parent. Parents sometimes monitor their children's sleep for very practical reasons: sleepwalking, night terrors, unusual noises, or unexplained behavior. Many comments under the video support that theory. One commenter even shared a personal experience about sleepwalking as a child, explaining how their parent once recorded them overnight after they woke up in a closet with no memory of how they got there. Another possibility mentioned was concerns over unexplained scratches, bites, or strange nighttime behavior. In many cases, parents turn to cameras simply to rule things out. 9 times out of 10, there's no sinister motive, just concern. But at the end of the day, we don't know. There's no way to confirm who Jason is, no way to verify who held the camera, no way to understand the intention behind the recording. All we have is 30 minutes of silence, a sleeping child, and a label written on an old tape. Did you find these cases disturbing? Then take a deep breath and prepare yourself for the next disturbing case. On the afternoon of May 31st, 2013, the air over El Reno, Oklahoma felt heavy. Thick clouds gathered above the flat horizon, and the haunting wail of tornado sirens echoed through the streets. People knew the drill. Take cover. Stay alert. Meteorologists were warning of something rare: the possibility of a multiple vortex tornado forming nearby. Most locals were worried, but for a certain group of people, this was exactly the kind of event they lived for. Storm chasers from all across the country had made their way into Oklahoma that week, hoping to catch a glimpse of nature at its most violent. Among them was a 3-man team of experienced professionals: 55-year-old Tim Samaras, his 24-year-old son Paul, and their longtime partner, 45-year-old Carl Young. These weren't thrill seekers with a camera. They were scientists, cautious, methodical. They'd spent years chasing storms, collecting high-speed footage and atmospheric data. And for 3 seasons, they'd starred in the Discovery Channel series Storm Chasers, helping viewers understand what went on inside the heart of a twister. By the time May 31st rolled around, the trio had already been in the area for days, studying the weather.
Oh, I'd say this is the one.
Oh yeah. This is going to be the storm of the day right here. This is going to do it, I think.
They'd seen dozens of tornadoes in their career. They knew the risks. They knew how to stay safe, but nothing could have prepared them for what was coming. That evening, just after 6 p.m., a tornado touched down near El Reno. It was initially classified as an EF3, strong but manageable for a seasoned team like theirs. The plan was to trail it from a safe distance, like they'd done so many times before. But something was different this time.
The rain is behind us. Oh my God.
Within minutes, the storm grew unstable. It shifted. It spun harder. What started as an EF3 was suddenly upgraded to an EF5, the most severe rating a tornado can get. But even that didn't tell the full story. This twister was massive. By the time it finished growing, it stretched 2.6 miles across, the widest tornado ever recorded. Wind speeds were measured at 313 miles per hour. For comparison, that's faster than the takeoff speed of a commercial airliner. And it wasn't just big. It was unpredictable, violent. It changed direction without warning. Tim, Paul, and Carl were trying to parallel the tornado, keeping a safe vantage point. But the twister veered unexpectedly, straight toward their car. They tried to outrun it, tried to reposition, but it was too late. The tornado caught them. Their vehicle was picked up and thrown like a toy across the landscape. When the storm finally passed, rescuers found what was left of their car, crushed down to just 60% of its original size. Tim's body was still strapped inside. Paul and Carl had been thrown half a mile in opposite directions. All 3 had died instantly. Later, amid the wreckage, a camera was recovered. Somehow, it was still intact, still recording. The footage has never been released publicly. No leaks, no viral clips. But a handful of people close to the team have seen it. including a friend named Gabe Garfield. According to Gabe, the final moments were quiet. Carl had noticed how strangely calm the air felt, that eerie stillness that sometimes comes before disaster. Tim answered, "Actually, we're in a bad spot." Then, just before the video cut out, he added one last line, "We're going to die." Today, the story of Tim, Paul, and Carl isn't just a tragedy, it's a reminder that even the most skilled storm chasers, with years of experience and the best equipment, are still at the mercy of nature's unpredictability. And that sometimes, even with all the right moves, you still don't make it out. That's all for today, folks. If you want to see more of this creepy content, click on the video on screen.